I'm very happy to call on stage Andy and Sasi from Walmart.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Andy Dumich. I work at Walmart Global Tech and I'm a product manager that supports our FinOps organization. I've been at the company for 3 years and I previously worked at Amazon for about 5.5 years and several other Fortune 500 companies. I'll give Sasi a chance to introduce herself as well.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Sasikala Saseedhar. I'm a senior manager, data analytics with Walmart Global Tech, and I have been with Walmart for close to 8 years now. And I've been collaborating with Andy for the past 2 years. And it's been great to see the impact we're making together. By the way, I'm not part of the official FinOps team, but I'm an official FinOps practitioner. And also, it's really funny that I'm seeing Andy for the first time here in this stage. We have never met in person, so we used to always collaborate on Zoom, so great to see Andy. And I didn't know he's this tall. I would have worn a little more heels. I'm looking like a shorty here. All right, I'm going to let Andy to get started.
Yeah, so when we say Walmart Global Tech, that's what we mean. We have presence all over the globe, and Sasi and I both work in different offices. I'm in the Bentonville office, which is the headquarters for Walmart, and she works out of our Sunnyvale office, where we have a lot of our tech folks. So hopefully, when you think about Walmart, one of the first things that comes to mind is our everyday low prices. And one of the things that's necessary to support everyday low prices is everyday low cost. So the two acronyms you see here are EDLC for everyday low cost and EDLP for everyday low prices. And these are fundamental to Walmart and to our culture. It's very important whether you're working in the supply chain area, whether you're in our store operations, merchandising, and obviously when it comes to cloud, EDLC is very important too. I actually started my career in finance, and that became something that was very important for managing a P&L related to global tech. And it's something that we pay attention to very carefully. But it's nice to have that company culture that supports a message like this. You know, it starts with our founder, Sam Walton, and it's something that I even bring up today in meetings. If we start getting bogged down in the details or forget why we're there, it's something that we can recenter on, and it's commonly discussed across the company. And as you can see within FinOps, that's also a central concept that's really important in how we get our everyday low costs. But when I joined the company 3 years ago, it was a new space. We had just recently done a number of migrations from our private cloud into the public cloud. The complexity was just increasing, the costs were increasing, and we just didn't have the processes in place in order to manage all these changes that were happening so rapidly. And along the same lines, we were in a period in our business where we're coming out of COVID. We're really changing the way that we serve our customers in a more omni-channel way. So you can pick up your order from the curbside, we'll deliver it to your house, we'll deliver it into your refrigerator, and obviously our more traditional methods of fulfillment in in-store shopping, of course, too. So with all this complexity, with all this change, we really had a need. We needed to improve our processes, we needed to improve our collaboration, and we needed to do all those things in a hurry. So our FinOps organization happened somewhat organically. I was initially on the finance team, and through that collaboration and networking within the company, I was able to make a transition from a full-time role in finance supporting technology to being one of the founding members of our FinOps team. So we formalized FinOps in 2023, and then I joined the team shortly after that as it was being built out. And we'd love to talk to you today about some of the things that we've been through on that journey, and hopefully it resonates with some of you. Looking forward to talking to some of you after the session and hearing what's going on in your world. But as we get into it, we'll cover a bunch of the different topics that we've focused on and things that we think we've found success with. And one of those things is visibility. So Sasi's going to talk to you a little bit about that.
All right, so why do we stress about visibility? It's simple, right? You can manage what you can measure. So you need to measure, and you need to provide the transparency to the teams to help them make informed decisions. You need to have the right data, right metrics, right tagging, and right reporting to give a good visibility. So starting with establishing basic metrics, these are some of the metrics we track in most of our reports. So if you see here, we're referring to daily average spend, not weekly, not monthly. So daily average spend is easy to understand, easy to compare. It's a very simple metric, right? Especially, I suggest you all to stay away from month-over-month comparison. For instance, you're comparing 28 days of February with 31 days March. It's not a meaningful comparison. So, average daily spend makes sense. Okay, baseline. Baseline, as you all know, is a fixed point of reference for comparison. So in Walmart, February is a fiscal year start. So what we do is we take the daily average spend during February as the baseline for comparison. Right. We also have a non-peak baseline, which is during a stable period of time. So retail is seasonal. For Walmart, our biggest seasons are Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we start scaling up sometime from August, September itself. And then we start scaling down after the holidays. So it doesn't make sense to take any of those periods within that window as a baseline. So what we do is we take August average spend as the baseline, pre-holiday baseline, and we even set a goal to bring it down to pre-holiday goal after the holidays are over. All right, again, we also have our goal set based on budget and other criteria, and we do track our current spend rate, and we also have forecast and projections. So there are two metrics here. So our projection model is based on past trends with seasonality taken into account. However, our forecast model takes into account other components such as optimization, additional investments, and so on. So we have been working to improve our forecast model. Coming to visualizing and reporting, we use various tools. We have an in-house portal, and we use Tableau, we use Power BI, Looker, Excel, various tools. It doesn't matter, right? As long as you show consistent data and consistent messaging across, it doesn't matter. And engineering teams are really busy. They have several deliverables, right? So in order to remind them every day, right, not even remind, just to help them keep in mind, we literally send out reports every day that lands in in their mailbox at a specific time of the day. We send it to all the cloud champion and cloud leaders, right? We show how is the spend trending? Has it gone up or gone down? Right, and what has contributed, all the drill downs we provide. And it's an automated email. And teams really love seeing that, right? So, and then that also helps them proactively identify any anomaly. And establishing traceability and providing drill downs is really important for the teams to identify any anomaly and also any opportunity areas. In Walmart, we have various pillars, so starting with org, we have pillars, sub-pillar, product, application, services, and below, all are tagged properly. So good tagging come in handy here. And of course, we do show optimization, the savings, all the savings metrics we show. So what are the identified opportunities, what was implemented, what was potential savings, realized savings, and so on. With that, I'm going to let Andy show some examples of how we customize based on persona.
Thanks, Sasi. Yeah, let's take a little deeper look at some of the visualizations and things that we use to help manage our cloud costs and the things that we share with different leaders and different stakeholders within the organization. We have a fairly large organization, and it becomes really important to consider your audience. Different people have very specific skills and tasks that they're asked to manage in terms of our cloud costs, so what we show them is really important. And what we aim to do is to curate that information specific to their persona, and we try to give them no more or no less than they need to do their job effectively and keep them focused on the wrong thing. Because I think we've all had an instance where you look at a report and it has so much information on it, you're not sure where you're supposed to focus. There's too many problems, there's too many numbers being thrown at you, and our executives and our engineers have a lot on their plate, and so we try to make that job easier for them by showing them only the most relevant information. So here's an example for what we will show a high-level executive. In this case, it's for our pricing team, and the leader for that team is Sam Walton. But what this is it's taking that concept of daily spend, which we use because it's a lot more actionable than looking at something more abstract, like an annualized spend where you have to predict what's going to happen for the rest of the year, what's going to happen during the holiday season, where are we going to invest, where are we going to grow. This is more action-oriented and seeing what you can do tomorrow. It's like getting on the scale when you're trying to lose weight. You can get on the scale and you'll know exactly where you stand, and this is supposed to serve kind of that same purpose. So in this case, you can see what Sasi was talking about with our pre-holiday spend is $100,000 a day, and then the previous week and the current week spend. So the previous week, they spent $115,000 per day for those 7 days, and then in the most recent week, they decreased that by $5,000. So you can see the week over week change, 4% reduction, but then you can also see how much room they have to go to get down to their target spend or weight. So that's something we provide executives, and we found that this has been really effective. Another thing that we send out frequently is to our cloud champions. So because the org is so big, each area has its own cloud champion. So here's two of the areas that we're looking at, and you can see that it includes their actual spend to date. It includes the budget, and the cloud champion is one of the key stakeholders in managing that budget. So it's important for them to keep track of that in addition to the more tactical daily spend focus. So we give them both. You can see what their daily spend goal is, what their current spend is, the gap to that, as well as that forecast for the rest of the year. So they can manage with their finance partner and kind of be that intermediary between the finance teams and the engineering teams. So the next view that we have is something we didn't have in the beginning. This is what we call our glide path, and that's the blue line. And you can see the expectation for where your daily spend is supposed to go, in this case down. That's not always the case. There's certain areas where we're investing, and you'll actually see it spending up. But it's important to give that context of, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and then we break it down into bite-sized chunks. Again, so it gets a little more concrete, and it's not as abstract as managing a full-year budget with a lot of assumptions built into it. It's a little more specific and actionable. And then you can see at the bottom, across the bottom, the green line is that pre-holiday spend that we're talking about. So this period is about getting back down over the next 4 months, and then that would extend out beyond the graph and eventually get back to that green line. So the next view is really about the pipeline of opportunities and where we're going to go find money. It's kind of like a health check. If you have enough opportunities in the pipeline that you're going to be able to achieve that green line that we saw in the last slide rather. And so you can see we have the opportunities identified for each of these teams, and then they can have a discussion about whether they want to pursue those opportunities or they're comfortable with where they're at now. And then how much they've tracked against those opportunities and how much is left. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Sasi to talk about.
Thank you, Andy. All right, so being a retail giant with massive infrastructure, cloud optimizations are really crucial for Walmart to keep the operational cost under control and to maintain the EDLP guarantee that Andy already mentioned. So these are some of the areas we focus on to improve the efficiency. Considering the size and scale, the cloud operations are decentralized in Walmart. For example, Walmart and Sam's Club have different processes around it. However, in order to create a culture of accountability, what we do is we literally tag the leaders in most of our reports. For example, we have a lower level product tagged to a L6 level leader, that's an example. Rolled it up to L5, L4, L3, and so on. That way, everyone, every leader, and every team in the hierarchy assumes the accountability. And having clear goals definitely helps, whatever the goal may be. It could be your budget goal, right? Or it could be like the pre-holiday goal that we had, or glide path goal, whatever works, having clear goal matching towards it really helps. And providing us a set of toolkit to the teams with various assets, such as like a sprint status, utilization, and optimization recommendations, and drill down capabilities, and so on, really help the teams analyze, monitor, and make improvements. I want to mention here that our platform team has built like an amazing tool internally, and keep improving it. And we already talked about visibility, right? Why is it important to provide clear insights and updates to leadership and how it helps? And collaboration. Collaboration is a key, right? To leverage expertise, share best practices, and also like coordinate efforts, right? The more you collaborate, the better. Empathy. Empathy is like a big motivator, right? Celebrate quick wins. Don't just like worry about the final state. I want to share an example that didn't really work for us. So initially, what we used to do is like set very aggressive goals and show every team has like a red status. So after a while, like the teams really stopped worrying about it. They don't care anymore, right? They can achieve. So that's how this glide path goal came, like iterative goal, bite-sized goal. So celebrate wherever possible. Try to set like achievable goals. So that's what I would say. With that, I'm going to pass on back to Andy, like to talk about our lessons learned and future.
So we've been through quite a journey, and along the way, we've certainly made our share of mistakes, but we've learned a lot of valuable lessons during that time, and I just wanted to share a few. The first one is about working with the right leadership. If you don't get buy-in from your leadership, you're going to have a really challenging time having some of these conversations. FinOps is a team sport. It takes a lot of people to make it work. The bigger the organization, the more teamwork that's required to have success. But if you don't have buy-in from that top level of leadership, it's going to be really challenging to be effective. And we've seen that in different pockets where we have more and less collaboration in different areas, and it makes a really big difference. So definitely want to start there and say, make sure you get that top level support. It's going to help you be a lot more effective. And then use visuals. Sasi talked about it earlier. Once we started using visuals, we really saw an acceleration in adoption. We got good feedback from the users, and it was a really powerful tool. It kind of goes back to that curation and making sure that you're presenting the right information to the right people. The phrase, picture's worth 1,000 words is really applicable here. I'm a former finance guy, and I love my numbers. And when I first started doing it, I put a lot of numbers in front of people, and that was definitely not the way to go. Once we started getting into the visuals, it was a lot more well-received by the broader audience. And then net metrics. Another thing that we did early on was set savings targets, and we still do that, but we pair them now with net metrics. And what do I mean by that? When we were starting and just using the gross metrics, we'd say, hey, we saved $10 million. And then we'd look and we're like, well, where did that $10 million show up? We're not seeing it. And what was happening is, we did our audits. We found that they were saving the money, but they were investing it in other areas that they weren't managing kind of both sides of the equation. I think, to successfully manage cost, you need to understand what you're adding just as much as you need to understand where you can find efficiencies. So it really takes both of those skill sets in order to effectively manage on a net basis. And then setting the bar. Sasi talked a little bit about this as well, but you don't want to set the bar too high because teams will get frustrated, they'll get discouraged, and then they won't even look at your reports. But if you set them too low, obviously you could be leaving some money on the table. So getting to know your teams, having that empathy, staying plugged in, having the right conversation with them is really, really critical. And yeah, last but not least, it's a team game. You can't just have one central team that does it all. We've tried to do some of that, and there are certain areas where that model works, but I think you need to pair that with the team effort. You need to get everybody involved. It's really about changing that culture and making sure everybody understands this is part of your job. Like if you're an architect, if you're an engineer, cost is a consideration. It should be a non-functional requirement when you're doing design. So what's next? Here's some of the things we're looking forward to. I'd say these are all like doubling down on type things that we're working on. So unit economics is definitely one of them. We have different profiles in our business. So we obviously have our core business with stores, but we're also investing in a lot of new areas like our advertising business and a data ventures business where we provide access to some of our data to our suppliers so they can more effectively work with Walmart. Credit scores is another one where, similar to what you'd experience if you went to a bank and tried to get a loan, they'll look and see your credit history and determine whether or not you're a high or low risk to give a loan to. We're trying to apply that same concept with cloud costs. So if you request additional provisioning, we're going to look at how you've managed your the existing workloads and the existing footprint that you have. And the people requesting, if they've done a good job managing and they're running an efficient tight ship, no problem. We're going to reduce the amount of friction that it takes for them to get their capacity provisioned. And then on the flip side, if you have a lot of waste in your current usage, then it's going to be additional friction that we put in there and make it more challenging for that person to, hey, go clean this up before you come and ask me for more. And then personalization. We talked a little bit about that with the curation and making sure that we get the right information to the right person and not giving them too much information. That's something we're looking to double down on. How do we get that daily average spend for each individual person so that when they go into our cloud portal and they're looking at their costs, they're only seeing what's relevant for them. They don't have to click 10 filters and figure out which subset of the information is most applicable to them. We'll get the opportunities right there and kind of a single pane of glass. And then always thinking about how can we leverage new technologies? How can we get Gen AI into FinOps? What's the right use case for us? Same thing with machine learning. How do we incorporate that better into our forecasting? How do we incorporate all the new technologies and some of the keynotes that we're talking about? When we come here again in a year, it's going to be so different. There's going to be so many new things that we need to think about. And so we're constantly thinking about what are the best practices? Where can we bring in new technologies and leverage those? So with that, thank you so much for listening today. I'd love to hear any questions you guys might have, and I'd also love to hear what you have going on in your areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Oh, thank you. I'm really intrigued by the credit score construct here. So is that something just based on optimization or the nature of the technology that the respective product is yielding for?
I'm sorry, I missed that first part of your question.
So for the underlying credit score, what is the approach apart from optimization that you take into consideration? Is it just from a dollar perspective if they're optimizing, or is there another dimension that you look into that's non-financial to determine what the credit score is?
Yeah, so we haven't fully built out, to be completely transparent, we haven't fully built it out yet, but we'd obviously have to establish what are the right metrics for getting a score like that. We have some scorecarding in place, but I think an equally important part of the process is the socialization of that. We have something now, but I don't think it would be widely accepted, and if you're not going to have adoption with it, then you're probably just wasting your effort on it. So we're working through that and trying to get that feedback, but also move forward. So hopefully we can have an update for you sometime soon. Thanks.
So to add on to that, right? So you're thinking about injecting into the pipeline itself to stop them before they reserve capacity, and they have to pass a certain score based on some factor?
Yeah, that's the idea. Is we have a capacity management team that we could potentially insert that into that process. Like right now, part of the process is you look at the budget and you see if it fits within the budget. But as we get more sophisticated into bringing things like unit economics in and some of the other metrics that we may be using, you could have that credit score be a factor in it too. So, and it's about rewarding good behavior. You offer some incentive to them. It's the carrot, kind of carrot and stick all in one.
Yes, quick question. You talk about cloud champions. Can you define what is a cloud champion in your company, and how do you guide together?
Sure. Yeah, the cloud champions are really the point of contact for our leaders. So like each VP that is over an area they don't have time to meet with us on a weekly basis to have the conversations. So they've each nominated a cloud champion. And it could be anybody from a program, like a technical program manager. In some cases, we work with architects. But it's really just up to that leader, the senior leader, who do they want to appoint as the liaison between us and them.
Cool. Question here.
Maybe it was addressed before, but what does your infrastructure look like? Is it on cloud? Is it on-prem? Is it a mix? And when it's on cloud, do you use APIs to get the telemetry? And what have you done for if you have any on-prem?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a hybrid cloud, so we have a large on-prem private cloud. We have both Azure and GCP. I'm not on the technical side, so I don't understand all the finer details of how it interacts together, but that's basically what our footprint looks like today.
So you said you have Azure and GCP, you don't have AWS? Just kidding. My question is, you mentioned that the tool doesn't matter. You look at the Looker and you also look at the Power BI reports, but in the end, do you report the spend or cost in these two different tools, or you consolidate still together in one place like Tableau or any other data warehouse? How do you share these reports? It depends on the team.
So it's just, as I said, Walmart is like huge, right? How many ever tools, whatever works. Some teams are really like familiar with Power BI, the look and feel, the way they use. Some teams really use they like the flexibility in the Looker. So we just provide customized based on like the team's need, but convey the consistent messaging. That's
Got it. So even if the same team is using two different cloud providers,
it's okay to use, right? Yeah.
Whichever tool they want to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
The spend gets consolidated, so you can see it all in one place for all the clouds that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So one more question is, you shared that you report the spend on a daily basis, or you find the daily average. How does that change when you are looking at this data from procurement perspective or sourcing perspective? What metric do you use at that time?
So, I mean, I guess for procurement or sourcing, I mean, we have our two cloud providers that we use. So it doesn't really, it's more for managing the existing spend that we have, and we use that same information for projections and whatnot, but it's not really used for procurement and for sourcing.
Hi. For the FinOps organization, where do you guys sit? Is it the CTO, CFO?
Yeah, so we sit in the strategy team, and that was intentional because we have kind of a cross-functional team, but we felt like it was important to sit in a kind of neutral location. So, either strategy or finance or somebody that doesn't necessarily have like a horse in the race. And then you can be a little bit more independent in some of the governance policies and things that you're trying to do without appearing to show any bias towards any different leaders.
Was there another question?
Yep.
Yeah, how do you penalize or give consideration to the teams for the underutilized resources? Because not all the resources are built the same. Some of them have a complexity of, there are more networking components. So to build them again, there's enough lead time needed. So I'm actually dealing with a situation where the underlying underutilized resources have been up for the last 6 months, and there is an initiative around it which has been pushing month over month. So how do you deal with those kind of situations?
Generally, we don't dictate what the engineering teams do. We try to bring visibility to it, and we can shine a light on it, but it's generally up to them on whether or not they manage it. And we have tools that we can put pressure on them, obviously. But for the most part, it's up to them. Oftentimes, like with that opportunity tracker that I was sharing with you, there's kind of a vetting process where you'll go through and make sure that there's opportunities there, but also you kind of cross off things that you've looked at and said like, okay, well, This is a memory-bound workload, so CPU utilization is really low, but the memory utilization is really high. So even if you ran a report on CPU utilization, it'll be flagged as like, oh, way underutilized. And maybe that's a conversation about switching to a different SKU, but we don't mandate like, hey, you got to switch to this different SKU. We try to bring the visibility to it, bring it to their attention, and like I said, we will try to curate that so that they can get that information without having to do heavy analysis. But then it's up to the team to actually make the change, the application team.
Any other question? There we go. For the recording. There you go.
Does Walmart practice application portfolio management?
Yes. Tagging is based on application. Yes, yeah. Yeah, this is based on the application portfolio management, and we'll tag back to product and sub-pillar and then org level and then CTO. That's how we kind of do this charge back and show back. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Guru.
We've got one more.
Thanks. In terms of your reporting, do you guys utilize a third-party cost management tool, or do you build it in-house, or it's kind of a mix, or do you use native tooling?
We built it in-house, so, yeah, proprietary.
Can I pick that up at Walmart, or?
Not yet.
All right. Cool. Then thank you so much, Andy and Sasi, for your presentation. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X 2024 content on our YouTube channel on the 2024 playlist. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, and by leaving comments and questions for our speakers. We appreciate your support.